Hello world, Ifecodes here. In this video, we are going to build a video management system for our TikTok clone app. Video management system, or VMS, is just the same as CMS, aka content management system. So this is specifically for our app. So the user uploads a video, okay? Then he's like, I have to delete that video. I don't like it. So he should be able to delete the video. But right now we cannot. So we should be implementing it using, of course, an API. Unlike the uploads video tutorial, which we uploaded the video directly to the database and the server, this time we'll be doing it by instructing the API to do it for us, thereby distancing the user or distancing us from the database and the server, which improves security for our app. So remember, as I said earlier, we should be able to delete videos that we do not like. Therefore, if it's a hacker or somebody who doesn't appreciate your app and is trying to harm you, so we should be able to prevent that. Okay, so this API will be a little bit more complex than the other one, that is the fetch video PHP. The one we are going to build now will be a little bit more complex because it has other things like instructing receiving instructions to delete a video from our database, or what's it called again, our server. Okay, so without much ado, let's start immediately. Okay, so I called it dash API .php. So the next thing we are going to do now is get some headers. So what is this one for? The header, content type application JSON. Of course, we did it here too, as you can see. So what it's all about is that it tells the browser or any client that this app or this dash API .php is going to be sending back data in JSON format. Okay, so JSON is the format front end apps kind of, that is how they communicate, and that is what the front end app is expecting. So it's kind of saying, I'm sending you back a nicely wrapped boxes you can open and understand. So without this, our browser or JavaScript clients might misread the data or throw errors. So in simple terms, they are like a bouncer at a club, deciding who gets in to party with your API. In super simple terms, they tell the browser, hey, it's cool for certain websites to talk to this API, so let's dive in immediately. No jargon, no tech jargon overload. All right. So the next thing we are going to do again is to do some inclusion, to include the, how do I put it, the DB connect PHP. Okay, so let's do that next and immediately. All right, of course, I have already talked about this several times, so I don't need to talk about it again. So let's move forward to what is called, handling the CORS, or the cross-origin resource sharing. Okay, so first of all, what are CORS? CORS is a browser security feature that controls whether a web page from one website can request data from another website or server. So it allows servers to specify which websites are allowed to access their resources by using HTTP headers. So without CORS, browsers will block these cross-site requests. Cross-site requests means you're requesting information from one. It might be from one from one network to the other, or from one port to the other. Okay, or from one host to the other. Without CORS, the browsers are going to block these requests to prevent unauthorized access. So in our project, CORS headers are in the API we are building. We let our client that we are going to build, and we'll call it dashboard.php, to fetch video data from the API. So this one is a little bit more complex than the other API that we built. Okay, so we will be putting this header again. Okay, and we'll do it 3 times with different parameters. So let's do that immediately. All right, so here they are, the 3 headers. So the first one says header access control allow origin asterisk. So what it's simply saying is that, kind of imagine your API is a VIP lounge and websites are people trying to get in. So this line is like saying, everybody can come in. So the asterisk here means any website can talk to your or our API. All right, they can make requests to our API. So this is this is the most open door policy you can have. So what it does is that it tells the browser that any web page or any domain at all can fetch data from this API we are building now. Okay, without it, the web browser is going to block requests from being made. Okay, but remember, this is a warning. If you are building, for example, as we are building this project, it's just something on our pet project, so we can use the asterisk. But if you are building a live app, you have to enter the specific domain here so that it will lock it down to that client, so that random sites cannot mess with your API. Okay, because of what we are doing, you are trying to delete a video, so it has to be, we have to be very careful. All right, so that no one goes there to mess up with our application or our database and the server. Now the second one is access control allow method. Sorry, allow methods. So, and the methods that allowed are get, delete, and options. So this is like telling the browser these are the moves people are allowed to make in the club. Once they get into the club, these are the moves they're allowed to make. So what are they? Get, of course, we know, to fetch data. Delete, it means to remove data. Then the options is kind of a special check-in request that the browser sends to ask, saying, please, is it cool for the client to do this? But anyway, we'll talk about that more. We'll talk more about that in a second. So it is there to because our API we only support the one we are going to build. We only support get, delete, and the options. So if somebody is trying to do something like a post or a put, the browser will block it. Okay. So I think we should continue. But anyway, before then, fun fact: this options method is for something called pre-flight request. So before doing a fancy request like delete, okay, very fancy, the browser sends an options request to make sure the the server is cool with it. Okay, so our API handles this with something called the if then server request method options. So we'll talk about that later. All right. So let's continue immediately. Now, what about the third one? It says header control, uh, access control, allow headers, content type, authorization. So this one is simply saying that these are the things that people can bring into the club. So the at least HTTP headers that websites can include in their request to the API we are building. So content type tells the server what kind of data is being sent. And our own, for example, is sending a JSON data. Then what about authorization? So this one lets website send authentication information. For example, a token, API key. So this is what the authorization is all about. Why do we need this? Because it's simply because our web browsers are very picky. So if our client that we are going to build sends a request with headers like content type, the browser checks the header to make sure the server allows them. Without it, the web browser is going to block. It's going to block that request. Okay. So the next thing we have to do now is to handle the pre-flight options request. Of course, I did mention about it earlier, a little bit earlier. So when I talked about the if server requests method something something. So let me put that immediately. So here they are. Okay. So if server request method options. Okay. what happens. So this is like the VIP doorman at your API club. Okay, it handles a special kind of request called pre-flight options request. So it's all about making sure your dashboard, your client is, or the client you are going to build can talk to our API without the browser throwing a tantrum. Okay, so this what this code is doing here is that, as I said earlier, your API is a cool nightclub. Okay, the our client that we are going to build is trying to get into this club and grab some video data or delete a video. Sometimes the browser, like the club security, doesn't just let any requests, move in, especially if it's a fancy one like delete or something with special headers. So before it lets the request go through, the browser sends a pre-flight request using options. Okay, the options method to check if the server is okay with what we are about to do. So if the server is okay, then it will pass through without throwing in a tantrum. Okay, so if it's okay with it, it will then give a response code of 200. Okay, it's 200 means okay. The status 200 status code of 200 means okay, everything is fine, you are cleared. All right. Then after which it will stop the execution of the script. You know, to stop the script right there. So no need to do any other thing. Just start doing some other things. Okay. So this is where the exit comes into play. So now the next thing we are going to do now is the real meat of what we are going to doing here. So this one is just what we are doing now. What we just did now are just kind of to prepare our browser so that it will allow us to go to pass through without any problem. So the next thing we are going to check is to check what kind of method to check the request method. That is to say, what's the user, what does the user want? What does the user want? What is the request method? So we first of all say if server request method. So the request method here is like, let's say if I mean this line is like saying if imagine your API is the chef in the kitchen, and someone is shouting orders. So this line is like it's like the chef asking you, what kind of order is this? Are we grabbing something? Are we gonna delete something or something else? So what it does is that it grabs the HTTP method of the incoming request. For example, in this we are going to allow only these three: to get, which is to fetch videos; delete, or options. So why we need get is that we want to be able to display the videos the person has already uploaded, not necessarily play them as we did in this one. Okay, we just want to get them and display the videos as little boxes. All right. Then delete, we should be able to delete the videos that we do not like. Then options is like now asking what, first of all, ask to before anything happens. So for example, if dashboard, let's say the dashboard of PHP you are going to build is kind of fetching a video list. So then it will be a get request. Okay. Then if we want to delete a video, it will be a delete request. Okay. So if the browser's checking calls permission, it is an options request, like we talked about earlier. Our API needs to know the action so that it can decide what to do next. So this is where we are going to get that action we are going to take. Either it's going to be a get or it's going to be a delete method, or a delete as we have already specified here, the allowed methods. All right. So once we get the method, we then put it inside this, how do I put it? This variable called request method. Okay. Now that we have gotten the method, how do we determine what the user require, or what the request method is? So we're going to do that using the if block. All right. So if it sets, what is set, get path. So this is simply for example, let's say the what the person entered here. Okay, so once you click, something is supposed to show here. So it will get that what do I call it, data from the URL. So that is what here is all about, get path. Okay, then we make another variable I will call path. Okay, now the next thing we are going to do now is to do some trimming to remove some things. We want to, how do I put it, we want to clean up the data, okay, or want to clean up whatever we got from the URL, because it usually comes with some unnecessary letters or characters, so we have to clean it up. So we'll use the trim function. So what are we trimming? So first of all, let's just copy this and paste it inside here. Okay, we are going to trim out something. So what is the thing we are going to trim out? To trim means to remove certain things. Okay, so we are going to remove the front slashes. So if there is any front slash in it, usually here we see, like this one now, as you can see, there is the front slash. So we are going to remove those front slash. There are any character like this in there, so because we want something pure. Okay, want something clean. Then, should in case we didn't get anything here, let's say for example there was no click, it was simply kind of wanted to load, like let's say we are loading in this, we clicked on this dashboard and we are loading it for the very first time. Okay, so there will be nothing here. So should in case there is nothing there, then that is where we then get the else. Then else will simply say path will be an empty string, which leads us to the very next one. That's now we have gotten the path. We will now need to determine what request method that was given, and then act based on the request method that our app is going to receive. Okay, before then, why exactly do we need this? The API we are going to build uses path to decide what resource the user wants, as I said earlier. Okay, so in our project, if path is videos, okay, if path simply ends at videos, it means list all videos. Okay, bear this in mind. Okay, bear it at the back of your mind, because what we are going to do next will be very important. Then if we have path slash, let's say 123 or any number, then what it will mean is that we should delete a particular video, and that video will have that number. Okay, that's slash video slash whatever number. So that number is the ID of the video we are going to be deleting. Now let me demonstrate what I mean. So now I am in PHP MyAdmin, that is the database. So I hope you have not forgotten, this is the ID. Each entry here has its own ID. So if it comes back with video slash, let's say 4, so 4 is the ID of the video that we are going to delete. I hope I have made that clear. So the request method tells the action that is going to be taken, whether it's get for listing the videos, delete for deleting video, while path tells the target just videos for the list, then videos slash whatever number, like 123, to delete a specific video with a specific ID. Okay, now let's continue. So as I said earlier, once we get the request method, what then do we do with it? How do we determine what is going on? How do we determine if it's to delete a video or to list the video? So we'd use something called switch case block. So switch case is a bit like using if, but this is a little bit simpler than using what's it called, the if method, or the if statement. So we'll say switch. All right, then switch what is just a request method. Now request method What else do we need to supply? All right, so case one will be a get request. What is it going to do if it is a get request? Or first of all, what exactly is going on here? So here is where we tell the API that I mean, just as I mentioned earlier, in this switch block, we are telling the API what to do depending on the value we get. Okay, the request method. All right. So we could simply have called the function to load videos here, but we want to make sure that the request method matches with the path. If we have by any mistake, so let's say we get a delete method and the path is videos, it means we are going to delete our entire database, and that will really suck. All right, so that is why we want to use this this method, this system now. Okay, so now we will be using the if inside the how do I put it, inside the switch statement. Okay, I'll say if path is exactly videos, that is to say path ended with videos, then the next thing we have to do now is to uh, call a function called list video. Unfortunately, there is no function called list video. We have to create it ourselves, and we have to give it this variable or this parameter called con, to be able to connect to our database using the whatever is inside here. So it should be list videos. Okay, so don't worry about this. So it says undefined function, so that is why there is this red highlighting under it. Okay, so if there is any other thing that to do send error method, then what will be the error? Error 404. Error 404, the dreaded error 404 everybody is always talking about. Then we supply this what's it called, this message. So it says endpoint not found. So once again, these two functions we are calling here do not exist. Okay, so don't worry, we are going to define them later. All right, so once we are done with this, then the next thing we are going to do is break. We'll say break. So what break does is to stop the switch from checking the other cases after handling gets. Okay, so without it, the code might keep running into the next case, which is not what we want. All right, so the next case we are going to deal with is, don't worry, we'll create these functions later, we'll define these functions later. Okay, so the next function the next case we are going to deal with is delete. We are going to deal with delete. So if we get a delete, we'll first of all do some gatekeeping. And who says gatekeeping? Says regular expression. Regular expression or regex is a short pattern of characters used to search for or match specific text, like finding a word, a number, or a format in a longer string. So what's this preg match? This is the regular expression. This is for the regular expression. Okay, so what we are doing from this regular expression or this gatekeeping is that we want to first of all, because once in the browser, that is in the URL, for example, it usually comes something like this. Okay, so we want to be able to extract the ID or a number. Okay, so the ID, once we extract it, we will then put it inside this. It will then I think it happens automatically. Yeah, it will enter into this variable here called matches. So first of all, try to match. What are we trying to? Okay, videos. Then we are trying to match we are trying to get the digits. Okay, so if the user clicks something, then there is this videos. So let's say the user clicked the delete button, he wants to delete a video. Then on the browser up there, the digit will, or the integer will appear. So get that integer, put it inside this matrix. Okay, now that will be the ID of our video. So what do we do with it? Because it is a string, we will now have to first of all convert it into an integer, sorry, or into a digit. Okay, now once we do that, we will assign it to a variable that we will call video, of course, as it is, as you already know, video ID. Okay, so this int val, it means that we have to convert the value to what's it called, a it has to be converted to an integer. Now after then, the next thing we have to do now is to call a function called delete video. Of course, this one also does not exist, so we'll supply the necessary connection to be able to connect to our database. Then the ID of the video that is going to be deleted. Okay, after we say break, that is to stop the video for stop the app or the script from checking any more thing. Then if in case now the user is let me say he's somebody that is trying to break something, not break as in this type of break, this particular break here, I say he's trying to destroy something, then we'll have something called default. So default is kind of what the browser will do, yeah, if it doesn't get either get or delete. So which means the user is trying to do something funny. So we say default. So basically the default will be what the browser wants to do, or what is always in its mind to do, except it gets something like get or delete. What are we going to do in default? We are simply going to do you know, we're going to do this sendError. So instead of 404, we'll be doing 405. So which means method not allowed. Then we do the break to stop the script for any further execution. So the default is like your browser's, your API's bouncer. So it only lets in gets, that is to list videos, or delete to remove videos. If someone tries something different or a different move like post or put, the default will kick that person out and will say,
"We don't do that here."
So by this time, the server is already open because of this conn here, this con variable. So the next thing we have to do now is to close the connection. So we'll simply say con, then we access the method, the close method. Okay, so we made a bunch of functions here that we have not defined. So we will now start defining what these functions will do, because right now, as you can see, VS Code is highlighting that these functions are undefined. So let's start with list videos, the first one. Okay, we'll start with list videos. Let's continue right away. So this function we are going to make now is for listing the videos. Of course, we are going to do it with ability to do endless loading, you understand, with scrolling. So if it gets to a certain point, it will load more videos. Okay, so we supply the parameter, which is conn, to be able to open the, what's it called, the server. Okay, now we parse and validate offsets and limit. When I say parse, I mean PARSE. Parse and validates offsets and limits. The offsets will be 0, limit will be 10, or any number you may wish to put there. doesn't really matter, but offset should be 0. Okay, so here we are setting some default values. Offset is where we are going to start loading our videos from. In this case, we are going to be starting from the very beginning. That is why I insist that you must put 0 here. Limit is how many videos we want to fetch at a time. Okay, here we are setting it at 10. You can put it 2 or 3. In the other video, we'll put 2. Okay, so this one is entirely up to you. So now the next thing we have to do is to get the offsets. To get to what this number. Now we are going to make use of it. All right, so for us to use this one, we'll first of all check if it's actually available. Okay, if the browser actually sets an offset value in the URL that is here. So, and if it is there, then if it is there and it is a number, then we have to update our offsets so that we will not risk always starting from 0 each time we scroll. So any of the videos that has been loaded will not be loaded again. Okay, so this is what make it, the scrolling. How do I put it? The scrolling, as you're scrolling, it fetches more video. So this is what makes it possible. So it says if it's set, that is set is whatever is entered here. Like this one now is set. Okay. So if it's set, offset, and is numeric, that is to say that's not it's a whole number. Okay. Then what are we going to do? We are going to say offset. The offset will now be the new offset. Okay. Offset here will then be the new offset. So instead of 0, it will now be that of, let's say, okay, like limit is 10, so the next one will now be 10. For you to understand this properly, see the video, the tutorial about when we talked about fetch videos PHP. Okay, so I don't want to spend so much time talking about this one because this video is a bit longer and I have already talked about these things so much. All right, so we'll do the same thing for the limits. So we have the same thing here. Okay, sorry guys, the logic is the same. So we check if we have a limit value or a limit value is sent. Maybe the front end wants to load 5 or 15 videos at a time, or instead of 10. Okay, if that number is valid, we should update the limit. Okay, so this gives the front end control over how much video to load on each scroll or on each time we make a request. Okay, so in simple terms, this part of the code lets the front end tell the back end, hey, start from video number 10 and give me 10 more. So that's the magic behind things like lazy loading or endless scroll. We are not loading everything at once. We are loading in small batches based on what the user needs next. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is to make sure that our app does not get a negative number. Okay, so to do that, we need a way to ensure that we will always have a positive integer. Okay, so that's the next thing we gotta do right away. So we'll say if offset is less than 0. If it is less than 0, then it should be equal to 0. Then offset should be 0. All right, the other one is if limit is less than 1. If it's less than 1, then limit will be equal to 10. Then if once more limit is less than 100, greater than 100, okay, then limit should be equal to 100. So this is kind of giving it a maximum number to prevent abuse. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now, first of all, is to get the total number of videos. Okay, remember, this is a dashboard or a video management app we are building, so we want to know how many videos we have uploaded. So we start by telling the database, hey, give me the total number of rows in the videos table. Okay, in other words, how many videos we have uploaded. We start by creating a variable which we will call count query. Okay, so we call that still inside this what's it called, um, this list videos. Okay, we are still defining the list videos function. So we'll say call it count query. So to it we assign a statement or SQL statement. So we'll say select counts asterisk as total from video. So kind of what it's saying is we should select everything from videos. From where is videos? Here it is videos. So select everything here. Okay, we are trying to get how many videos that we have uploaded. Instead of coming here to count it 1 2 3 4 5, no, we should be able to do it using PHP. Okay, so this column will contain the total number of rows in the videos table. The counts asterisk function counts all rows, including those with null values. Remember, videos is coming from our database as I have shown. This is useful for our video app when we want to know the total number of videos. So if we are planning to implement features like lazy loading, maybe pagination, or just show the users how many videos that we have already uploaded or that exists, then we'll be using this function or this thing here, this variable here. Okay, now to be able to use this query, we will what did I call it? I call it variable. It is query, please, query, not variable. So we will say we'll make another variable called count results. So to it we assign uh, what's it called again, please? Uh, connection or con. Then in connection we access the query method. So what are we querying? All right. So count query. So we take the con objects from the dbconnect PHP file from here. Then we access the query method. Then supply to it the count query variable that we created earlier. The count query. So we are telling PHP to send that SQL to the database and store it in this count results. To get the actual number, first we create a variable once again called total videos. So let's create it immediately. Total videos, and it should be 0 because that is where that will be our starting point. Okay. Then we'll say if, sorry, I made a mistake here. It is not what I put here, count, please count results. Okay, so if count results, so what we are doing here is to check if how do I put it, if our if our query to count the videos actually worked. So that is where, if it actually worked, then it will return true. Okay, so if it actually works, then we create another another variable inside the if statement called row. Okay, this one now is coming from the database. So to be a row will now will be count results. Then count results. Inside count results, we'll get the fetch assoc method. Okay, so what is, anyway, let me fetch. So fetch associative array or fetch assoc method. So we are going ahead to grabbing the number from the database using the fetch assoc method. which gives an associative array. Now we are going to get the actual number and store it inside the variable, and that variable will call it total videos. All right. So it will be to that. How do I put it? The total videos variable will be assigned the row total. So this row, we are get this row total here. As you already know by now, this is how to get values from associative arrays. All right. So the total videos will give us the number of the total number of videos we have in our database. So all these things we did now, I made a mistake here, please. Total, please. Okay. This one we did here now, the cleaner way of doing it, or what we call the ternary, is simply total videos, count result, then if count result, we get what's it called? Fetch ASOC method, we'll get the total, then 0. Okay, that is all these things we did here. So this is a better way of doing it. But anyway, let me comment it out. But I will still keep it there. You can use it if you wish. Now, after knowing the total number of videos that we have in our database, the next thing we are going to do is to actually fetch the videos. So first of all, we make a query, and to this variable called query, we assign an SQL statement. Okay. So the statement says select ID, title, URL from videos ordered by ID, then descending, then limit, then offset. Okay. So we are telling the database, hey, give me the ID, give me the title, and the URL for each video in the videos table. From then from the videos part, we just how do I put it? We are grabbing data from the videos table. You understand? So from the videos part, when I say from the videos part, I mean here we are grabbing data from the videos table. The videos table is just the videos table. Here is the videos table. Here are the contents of the videos or the rows in the videos table. Let me explain what we are doing here, because these things here mean something, okay? But let me explain what, each of them. So the order by DSC, or descending order, this is important. We are saying give me the newest videos first, because we are ordering the ID, we are ordering by the ID in descending order. So the higher ID means higher ID means newer video. So how about limits and offset, and especially these question marks? These two are placeholders, okay? They are going to be filled later with actual numbers. Limit says only give me this number of results. Offset will say skip this many results first of all before you load any video. So if you have seen in the previous tutorial, that is the fetch API, the fetch videos PHP, fetchvideos.php, I mean, sorry, you will know that this is the key to lazy loading, endless loading, or pagination. So it's kind of saying let us fetch just a small set of videos at a time instead of loading the whole thing and slowing down our application. All right. So after this, we move to prepared statement. So here is a simple definition. A prepared statement is a safe, and of course we are going to deal with this now. Okay. So this is a safe and reusable way of running SQL queries by separating the queries from the actual data. So think of it like this. You write the query first with placeholders. Then you fill in the blanks later with real values. This helps to prevent hackers or hacking like SQL injection, and it makes your app more efficient and secure. Okay. Now we are going to prepare the statements. We start by making a variable which we will call stempty. All right. So once we have created the stempty variable, to that variable we assign the con variable we get from the dbconnect.php file. Okay. Then Then in the con variable, we will access the prepare method and we supply it with that to that method the query we created above. Okay. All right. Here they are. Okay. So what's going on here? We are preparing our SQL query before we actually run it. It's like telling MySQL, hey, get ready. I am about to give you some values to plug into this query. So this is what is called prepared statement, and it's awesome for two big reasons: security and security. It helps in preventing SQL injection, then efficiency. So it means you can run similar queries many times. So MySQL can optimize and reuse this precompiled query structure. Next, we will be binding parameters to the prepared SQL statements using the bind param method. To get this, we will simply say, stmt. So the stmt, then we access the bind. What am I doing? Bind underscore param. Okay. Then say li. Then li is simply sorry, not li, please. I made a mistake. Double I, please. So it means two integers. So remember here, offset here, 0. The other one is 10. These are whole numbers or digits or integers if we want to say it programmatically. Then the other one, the two, because this, sorry, before I jump something, we have two question marks here. So we have two integers we are going to supply. Okay. If it were other primitives, maybe let's say something like string, I believe here will be s. Okay. Now we are going to supply two integers, so that is why we are putting two i's, or not. I mean two letter i's, okay, or two I letters. So we then supply the where we are getting the values from, which is limit and which is what am I doing? Limit. Then the other one is um, offset. Okay, so these two will be bound with this. That is kind of the question mark will be removed and be replaced by whatever is inside limits and offset, depending on which of the question marks. Okay. All right. Let's continue quickly. Before then, please let me correct an error here. Okay. Now, after all said and done, I will now execute, or we will now execute the statement. So, what does it mean to execute the statement? It simply means that we are now going to run the statement. We are not going to run the program, or we are not going to run the scripts. We are going to run the statements. Okay. We are not run. Let me repeat what I said. Okay. We are going to run the statements, not the program or the script. So how do we do that? We simply go down here and say stmt. Then we access the method. So once we execute the method, we are going to get some results because we have made a request from our database. So we are going to get definitely results. Okay. Now, we'll first of all create a variable called results, and to it we assign stmt get results. Okay. That is stmt. We access the gets results. Gets results. So as I said earlier, we are going to get something, but we still have to check. Okay, so we still have to check if results actually produced something. That is to say, if there are actually some data in the results variable. Okay, so we do that by using our tried and trusted if statements. So if there is any if there is any data in the result, it will return true. Now we first of all try to handle, because there can be situations where there is nothing. Okay, it's very much possible. So I think we have to first of all handle the else part, which means the results came back empty-handed, aka the if statement here returns with false. So if it returns false, we'll jump straight to else. So what are we doing in else? So we simply say stmt close. We have to first of all close our connection. So we'll go to stmt, then access the close method. After that, we will have to again send error. We have to kind of send some kind of a error message. This time around, it will be error 500. So database error, unable to fetch videos. So this is our way of saying oops,
something went wrong
to the front end of our application or our app. So the 500 is the HTTP status code for internal server error, which means that the problem happened on the server side, not the user side or the front end. So database error, unable to fetch videos, is custom message we are sending back. Okay, so if for some reason our database query fails, maybe because the connection is down or there is a syntax error somewhere in our SQL, this will catch it and send back a clear error message to the front end. Super duper important for debugging and making sure your app feels professional. Okay, but for now, I can assure you there is no how do I put it? There is no error here. There is no error syntax. So if there is any problem, I can't test it right now. Okay, if there is any problem, it will show me the error. Okay, but because I have already tested it, it works. So that I can assure you. All right. So after we are done with this, we'll now go back again to, where is it, to the if. So what happens if it returns true? Okay, if it returns true, which means that there is data in it, so the next thing we'll have to do now is to create an array we'll call videos. This array is where we will be storing the data we got from the results or from the database. So we'll be storing data such as ID, title, URL, and file name, which leads to the next move, the while loop. Okay, in the while statement, we will take the results, the results, then access the fetch ASOC, or the fetch, we'll fetch the associative array. Okay, we'll fetch the associative array using the while loop, but we'll first of all create a variable. So whatever we get inside there, what the any associative array will fetch, we store inside a variable that we'll call row. So why did we use the word row? So row is these, though these are rows. Okay, we store it inside a row. Okay, so this while loop uses the fetch ASOC as you saw, as you saw here, or as you're seeing here right now. We use the fetch ASOC method to grab one row at a time and turns it into an associative array. So that means each column becomes a key in a PHP array. So the next thing we are going to do now is to grab our videos array, then and push every array we are getting from here into this videos array. Okay, then it will collect all the videos that we will eventually send as a JSON response. So let me let me how do I put it? Let me kind of paste, copy and paste it, okay, because it's going to be long, and I want to make this video as short as possible. So this is how it's supposed to be, okay. So what is going on here? The ID is coming as a string, so we'll first of all convert it into a digit or an integer. So this is how we arrange every other one. So we have the title, we have the URL, we also have the file name, okay. So these represent what we are getting from here. For example, ID 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth and so on. Then you have this title, my video, Dana, blah 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 blah. Then this one now is the URL, which will also, I believe, it also represent the base name too. The Yeah, the base name, which is row URL. All right. Okay. Then after all said and done, we must close the connection. Okay. Now this is outside the while loop. So we say stmt, then we access the close. After all said and done, our app will be sending a JSON response back to the front end. Then we pass a big array of data that includes videos, which is the actual list of videos fetched. Then the next one is total, the total number of videos in the database. Offset is how many videos we skipped, okay. Then limit is how many videos we loaded at a time. Then we also send what is called a 200 status. What is it called again? What have you? I mean, what do you call it again? Status code. So the 200 status code means, or the HTTP something. Oh my god. Anyway, let's continue because I don't have time. The 200 means okay. It means that everything checked out correctly. So this all gets converted to JSON and sent to the front end. So sorry, where we can now display it in the UI. So the next thing we are going to do now is to do the send response. Okay, we are going to be doing that next. So this is the send response, which is actually a function, but a function that doesn't exist yet. Undefined function, send response. So this is the status code 200. Everything is okay. So what other data are we sending? Let me format it correctly, please. So here are the videos, then the total, then the offset and the limits. Of course, we are going to define this function later. Okay. So right now we are done with the load videos section or load videos function. So the next function we are going to be dealing with will be the delete video. Okay. So the delete video, then we'll also talk about the sendError. So the next function we are going to focus our attention on is the delete video function. So let me just copy this, then go down, make sure it is outside the last curly braces, okay, because this is the closing curly brace for the declaration of for the declaration of or definition of the load videos function. All right, so make sure it is outside. Now I just paste this. Let me first of all do the right thing. All right, function delete video, then we supply the parameters that will be needed. This is for the connection to the database, then the video ID, which is the ID of the video we want to delete. All right, so we'll first of all fetch the video details. So to fetch the video details, we'll simply need to do the normal statements, the query, then the statement and prepare statement and all that. So it is almost the same thing as what we did up here. Okay, where is it again, please? So it's almost the same thing as what we did up here, like the STMT part, the statement part. So it's just almost the same thing. So let me just copy it and paste it, so we don't waste much time. So as you can see, now we have the statement or the STMT which is assigned this con. First of all, we get the connection. Then the connection we access the prepare the prepare method. Okay, this time is a method, it's not just a function. So now here is the query. The select URL from videos where ID is, question mark or the placeholder. All right. So as I said earlier, it is the same thing with what we have done with the other function that how do I put it, that we defined. This STMT will also access the bind param. This is to bind the parameters. Okay, this I, of course, represents an integer. Then this also is from the video ID. Okay, I've already mentioned where this one is coming from. Then the STMT we execute it, then it will produce results, and the result will use STMT, then get results. If this were, I want to say something, please. If this were JavaScript, then it will say dot. This arrow you're seeing here, if it were in JavaScript, it will be dot. Okay, so STMT, then get results method, which will store inside this variable we created here. So after that, the next thing we have to do is to check if the result actually came back with something. Of course, I said if. We have done this above. The other function, the one that lists the video. So uh, if, then we check for results. Then results, we have to access the what's it called, the num rows, or the number of rows it was able to get from the database. All right, so we want to check if there is something actually. So if there is something, then it will be greater than 0. Okay, now the next thing we have to do now is to get the results, the individual results or the videos. So first of all, make a file, a variable called video. So the video will be assigned results, then fetch assoc. All right, I hope I spelled it correctly. Fetch assoc, that is to get the associative arrays. Now, in that associative arrays, we will get what is called the video URL. That is what we are gunning for, is this. We are trying to get this uploads videos blah 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 .mp4. In order to get that URL, we simply first of all create a variable called file path. So file path will be, sorry, not videos, video. Now we have the, not field path, file path. So file path, okay, file path is this. Where is it taking place? This, you see, this is the file we're talking about. Oh, what did I just do? Okay, this is the file path. This is the file path. This upload videos, video, blah 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 blah. Okay. Now that we have gotten that, we will now proceed to deleting the file, still inside the if statement or the if block. So this time around, we'll delete. We'll do some deletion here. Delete the file. So now we are deleting the file. So the first thing we have to do now is to check if that file actually exists. So we say if. Whenever I say if, then it means we are going to use the if statement. So we want to use the file exists function. Then we'll first of all add what file are we looking for. So it is the file that was the file that was gotten or were gotten from the database. So which we stored here that we call file path, which contains the URL. All right. So now that we have done, we check this. So the next thing we also have to do now is to check if the deletion actually happened. So we say if, sorry, on link, then file path. So if on link file path stmt or first of all, what I'm trying to do here is this: if the deletion actually work, That is what I'm doing here, but this is not the best way because I want to use one stone to kill two birds at once. So you instead you say if not file on link. Okay, so which means if the deletion did not work, if the deletion did not take place, then the next thing we have to do is to close the connection to the database. All right, we'll close the connection by saying stmt, then we access the close method. Then we will send an error message to the user by calling the sendError function, and we give it the, the message that it will take to the front end, which will say 500, status code 500, which means file not. It has I mean server something. It has something to do with it was not able to contact the server or to connect to the server or something. Then we will also attach a message to it which says failed to delete video. Okay, now we are done with this. Okay, we are done with the deletion of the file in the server or in the folder. Remember, when we say a server, we are talking about a folder in your computer or a folder in your your web host's computer. So it's not a particular computer itself that is the server. No, the server is just a folder inside that computer. Okay, now we are now done with this. So the next thing we have to do now is to remove it also from the database, because it will not be good that we delete it from the server or from the folder, then it is still here. The link to that, how do I put it, the link to that video is still here. It's not going to be proper. But before then, we'll first of all, because we used if here, okay, now should in case num rows came back with nothing, that is, the num rows is less than or equal to 0, or this one returns false. Okay, this num rows greater than 0 returns false. Now we have to go to else. All right, so what do we do? We, of course, close the server, close the connection, then send error message. Of course, this time around we call the status. We first of all call we call the sendError function and supply to it this status code which says error 404, the error 404 we all accustomed with. Then we give it, we attach to it a message, say video not found. All right, so when we say error 404, it means file not found, or in our case, video not found. All right, now we go back to the what we were doing earlier. So first of all, don't forget what we're about to do. It is to delete the database record. So to do that, we have to first of all, of course, the statements. Okay, we'll make a variable called delete statements or delete stmt. Then we assign to it this, the usual prepare and all that. So in this time around, the query will be delete from videos where id is then this placeholder. Then delete statement, we access the bind param as usual, the integer or for the where is it called, for the id, then the video id itself, or should I say, I think this is called a selector or something, or to represent what is going here, where what will be expecting to go into this place, which would be an integer. All right, so I don't want to talk about it again. Let's continue quickly. So right now we have to proceed with the code to do the actual deletion. Now, as you can see here, it says delete stmt or delete statements. Now we are going to execute it. Then after execution, we simply close the connection. Okay, excuse me. We'll close the connection, then also we'll close this other one. Then we'll send response to, that is, this send response is a function also that we are going to call, and but we are going to define it later. Okay, this is the message that will go to the front end, so to inform the user that the job has been done. So that is why it has the status code of 200, which means all is okay, as I pointed out earlier in this video. Now we also give it this message, okay, this message here, which is video deleted successfully. But then we want to do this in another way. Instead of just calling all of these functions like this, or I mean calling all of this, yeah, or call all of these functions like this, we have to wrap it in a, in an if statement to check if these things were actually done. If if it were not successful, because there is no way we can know if it failed. Okay, so if it is successful, then it will just stop here. If it is not successful, which we that is to say, it wasn't able to do, especially this execute part, it wasn't able to execute it, then we use the else to also spit out a particular send error message. Okay, so let's do that immediately. So here it is. All right, so if the delete statement or executes did not, I mean, if it worked, okay, if the delete statement execute worked, then run all these functions and call call this function too. But it should, in case then that it didn't work, okay, if it doesn't work, we'll simply have to close the connection too. Okay, let me copy this one, then paste it here quickly. We'll close the connection, also close this one too. Then we also send error. Okay, so we'll send an error message to the user to inform him of what happened. So this time around we use 500. So we also attach to it another message which says database error, unable to delete video. Now we are done with all of this, but we now have to handle these other functions that we have to call the send response and send error. Okay, so response here. This one is for the videos that are going to be displayed. Then send error, send response, send error. So let's just define what they are going to do. So this time around, this one will be outside because we are defining. This will be outside the delete video function. Let's do it immediately. So first of all, we handle that of the send response. Remember, these functions we are going to this send error and send response. These are called helper functions. They are that will send JSON response. Okay, because all of these things they are all going to be formatted in JSON format so that our front end will be able to read them correctly. So the first function, or the the send response function, here it is. So here is the definition: the status code, which is 404 or 500 or 200 or whatever. Then the data, which is where is it? The data inside. Okay. Then the HTTP response code. Okay. So as you can see here, get or set the HTTP response code. So the status code, which is either 400 or whatever. Then we'll now echo the data. Okay, this data, for example, where is it? The send error, sorry, send response. So this data, for example, will then be encoded into the JSON format. Okay, so here it says JSON encode, then the data. After encoding it, then we echo it. After echoing it, we'll exit. Okay, um we stop the script entirely. Okay, because we've now given the front end what it's asking for. Now let's focus on the other function immediately. The other function is the send error function, or send error helper function. Okay, now as you can see, those squiggly lines have been taken off, they've all disappeared. Now send error status code, then the message. Where do we find message? Here it is. Okay, message, then the HTTP response code, then the message that is going to send, or the error message that is going to be sent, will also be encoded in JSON format. Then it will exit. It's very simple. There isn't much to do here. Okay, now we'll have to test it to make sure it is working as we planned. Okay, but anyway, let's test it first of all. So let me save it before we test. Okay, now let me go to the browser. Now let me type dash, okay, dash API dot PHP. Okay, here it says error, endpoint not found. It doesn't mean that it's not working. It is working as it should. But here is the reason why it shows this response is endpoint not found. Now let's quickly go back here. So where is that endpoint not found? So let me search for it. Control F. Okay, end. Wait, end. All right. It says send error 404 endpoint not found. So first of all, it says switch and case. So it's supposed to be, it's looking for either get or delete. But right now we didn't provide anything, so it just didn't understand what we want, and it says endpoint not found, which simply means that it is expecting this either get or delete, and it is also expecting it from a front end app, not just me going over the browser and typing whatever I want there. So this is how you know it's going to work. So the next video we are going to do now is to make the actual dashboard. Here is just the API. So the dashboard or the video management, the front end part of it. So in that video, we are going to complete this part of the tutorial. So thank you so much for following me to this place. I know my style is somehow verbose. I know I talk a lot. I know, but that's how I like to teach. So thank you so much, guys. Like the video if you like it. Please subscribe, share it to 10 of your friends. Thank you so much. Goodbye.